Hey team, it's day 30. I hope you guys are good. I kind of had a garbage day, so I'm just going to throw that out there right away. We're going to get into the 6 goals, but also I want to talk a little bit today about amygdala hijack. And I told you guys I'm not going to be, I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm not going to like cushion this crap. When you have a horrible day or some things quote unquote trigger you during the day, let's talk about what happens with that, what it actually is, what it could potentially do to your health, and we'll go from there. So today I was 223 pounds, so I was down a pound. It's like 222.8. I don't know why I'm holding the red. I don't need it. So it's good. I'm going to try to start not eating 2 hours before I go to bed. I know this is going to get a little tougher as I get close and into the teens and down to that 210. So I want to try and test a few things. Not lower the calories because I was at 1895. So, right at that lower end, but just see if not eating, at bedtime or right before I go to bed could potentially help with more lipolysis. Remember, I do have some carb at night after I get done working out and stuff, and that could cut into my release of HGH in my first slow wave sleep, the first cycle. And remember, human growth hormone, or HGH, helps with lipolysis of the breakdown of fat. So I'm going to try that, right? I'm going to try that. 120 ounces of water, 7 hours of sleep, 65 minutes. I actually had a really good workout yesterday, and 238 grams of protein. So you've had a horrible day. Nobody really gives a damn because there's people out there that are way worse off. But in the same sense, there are certain things that quote unquote trigger you. And when you talk about triggering, that is what is an amygdala hijack. So that's what they're talking about. And this really came about in 1995, so it's been around for maybe like 25 years, 27 years. But the amygdala, or when they plural is amygdalae, I think. I don't know. Check my pronunciation. But you basically have one. They're at the base of your brain. You have one in each hemisphere, and they're diamond-shaped cells. And then what they do is they help define and regulate emotions. So back in the day, like when there were like saber-toothed tigers and bears and crap that were living with humans when we didn't have guns, or we didn't have a great way to defend ourselves, and it was like eat or be eaten type world. It was great because it activated the fight or flight response when you had a saber-toothed tiger or some weird thing chasing you, right? It might have been cool to have a pet these days, like, I don't know, some celebrity would have had one, but probably good that they are extinct. I don't know what the heck that was about, but cortisol and adrenaline is released. So what happens, you can actually feel that, and if you've ever been in a situation where you thought you were in imminent danger, or you actually have been, your heartbeat picks up, your palms get sweaty, your pupils dilate. You are freaking ready to go. You're fighting or flighting for your life. You're fighting for your life, or you're running for your life. That's what these were set up to do, okay? But now that we get into the bougie world of, first world problems, now it's triggers. And what happens is your frontal lobe is kind of your reason and stuff, and it's supposed to be able to take care of a lot of the problems that we have, and it doesn't. So I'll be a little vulnerable, and I have let myself get triggered, or there are certain things that would just set me off, and over time, you lose trust with your kids because you've been triggered, or you go a little nuts on things that really, when you look at it, they don't matter now. But like for some reason, instead of saying, with your frontal brain and identifying like that's not really that big of a deal, your amygdala takes over. And it could be because it's our childhood, certain things that your parents did, certain situations that are really, traumatizing in a way for you, but may not seem like a big deal now. It's still difficult for your body to not get triggered and get hijacked and have a response that, is embarrassing sometimes. We say things we don't mean. We do things that we don't really want to talk about, or we wish we could take back. So in the end, they're not good unless you truly are running for your life or fighting for your life. One of the two things. It's not good. You got to learn how to control those type of situations. So the first thing is identify the feeling. If you've had them, you know what triggers you, what the feeling is, okay? And honestly, that ultra stress type stuff, we've talked about cortisol before. what it doesn't let you go to sleep. Sleep deprivation leads to weight gain. So like from an overall health perspective, this stuff can really do damage to your health long term if you get triggered all the time. If you're constantly triggered, like you constantly got this stuff running around, you're gonna have some problems, right? So my good mentor and friend Todd Campbell was taking a bunch of us through just a way that when you actually physically recognize one of these amygdala hijacks coming, like what do you do? What are some things you can do? And first and foremost, like you actually have to be vulnerable enough with yourself to say, yeah, I do have issues, with some things. I got a ton of issues, but issues with some things that, you kind of know what really gets you going. So identify those things, but identify that overall feeling, because when you feel one of those coming on, Todd gave us this great acronym, STOP, right? It's like, well, that's okay, Richard, what's so great about that? And it actually was pretty cool. So basically the S stands for stop, just like stop. Like even if you're mid-sentence, stop. You know that you're triggered. You know that nothing good is gonna come out of this. Your kids are gonna get hurt, and like with me, my kids are living with me. So like, I'm kind of all they got. So like I have to be not only the parent for the guidance and even discipline. Kids need those structure, and my kids are a little older, but still you got to be there. But in a sense, you also have to be reasonable with them and treat them like the young adults they are, and be reasonable with them to prepare them that what actually normal society is going to be. So you really got to juggle, but you don't have to give up your morals and virtues and things. You just have to stop. So when it starts, even if you're mid-sentence, just stop. Okay, that's what stop means. Stop. Talk to yourself. That's not the voices in your head. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actually just as you're stopped. And this can take place just like that. It can take place in a split second after you get used to it. But talk to yourself. Like, what the hell's going on? Is this actually that big of a deal? Ask yourself questions. Like, why am I getting like this? What is causing this? Because as you're talking to yourself, you're also observing, which is the O, like, what are people's reactions around you? Like I can tell you there are a few situations that I bet if you line my 3 kids up, they would tell you these situations that dad gets triggered on. And they can tell you. And I'm not gonna tell you guys I'm not perfect. I'm not even close to perfect, man. But like observe. If you see like a little bit of, or the eyes really get big on them, they're in their flight response saying, oh my goodness, dad's gonna freak out. So like observe and see what's going on. Have you already gone too far? Have you already hurt some feelings? Have you already said some things potentially that are wrong? But try to get to the point to where you're not doing that. And then the P is proceed with the new information you have. Like, have you already hurt some people? Is it just are we too far gone to recover this? And you just got to leave the situation to get out to make people comfortable? Like, how do you proceed? Right? So for me, I've been through a lot of stuff and choices that I've made, over the past little bit. And so for me, I know based on just what I told you about who I have to be in this house, I know what triggers me. And I'll pat myself on the back, and I've really worked on this to ensure that some of that trust that I lost with my children and relationship strain on just certain dumb shit that triggered me, now that doesn't anymore, I got to build that trust back with them. It's not their fault. It's normal reaction, but I got to build their trust back in some of those situations and, talk through that, hey, I'm a different person and here's what I'm working on. You really have to involve the folks if you have been triggered in the past by things, and now when you don't react, it really kind of throws them for a loop. And then, ensures it gets them comfortable over time, because that's just not something you're going to let bother you anymore. So it is a process. But remember, like overall, cortisol is not, heavy bouts of cortisol is not good for you. Like cortisol wakes you up in the morning. It gives you extra, sugar in your bloodstream, to pop you awake. For the flight or fight, that it plunges that sugar into your bloodstream so you can take off really quick. But too much of that stuff and the adrenaline, high blood pressure, you're going to gain weight, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, like just start naming them. You're going to die early, so stop it, right? So figure out how to handle this. I know I have to, and I know I work on it every day to ensure that I've identified those situations. And there are times it gets away from me. But if you have to, what I do, like if I know in this house that some situation is, and I've just had a bad day, like today I had a shit day, you know what I did? I jumped in my car, called my person, and I drove. Got to the gym, slammed some weights around for a little bit, you know, really dialed in, and just got my release, and then and then you just work through that. And as long as you can identify it, things will get better over time. But just make sure you do, because not only is it unhealthy for relationships, it's also unhealthy for you. So I hope that was good information for you all. If you have any comments, leave them below. If you have any suggestions on future lessons or future content, let me know. I want to hear it, because it's always easier to answer the questions with content. So hopefully you guys are all having a good day. And as always, I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Thanks again for all your support.